You stand on the muddy ground, the chill of a damp dawn biting at your skin. All around you, the low murmur of thousands of men, the metallic clatter of equipment, the distant whinny of a horse. This is not your world, but for a short time it will become it. We are stepping back over 2 centuries, to an age when Europe was a vast, bloody chessboard, and a brilliant general named Napoleon Bonaparte moved armies like pieces in a grand, brutal game. You are one of them. From the sun-baked fields of France to the frozen plains of Russia, you will learn to march under the eagle's banner, experience the fierce camaraderie of the bivouac, and confront the terror of the cannon's roar. What was it truly like to live and fight as a soldier in Napoleon's Grande Army? Prepare to find out. The moment of truth arrives not with a thunderous battle cry, but often with the dull thud of a notice nailed to a village post, or the shrill voice of a town crier. One day you might be guiding a plow through a sun-drenched field, or shaping wood in a quiet workshop. The next, your life is irrevocably altered by the Emperor's will, by the relentless drumbeat of war that echoed across Europe. Foremost, the path into Napoleon's Grande Army began with conscription, a system deeply woven into the fabric of French society. The French Revolution years before had introduced the radical concept of the levée en masse, a total mobilization of the nation for war. Every able-bodied man was a potential soldier. Napoleon refined this system into a relentless, efficient machine designed to fuel his vast ambitions and maintain France's dominance in an era of constant conflict. Each year, a contingent of young men, typically between the ages of 18 and 24, would be called up. The exact age range could fluctuate, the quotas varying based on the empire's needs. But the principle remained the same. France needed soldiers and you were a potential resource. Imagine the scene in your village. The news would spread like wildfire, a mixture of dread and resignation rippling through the community. A government official, perhaps a local mayor, arrives with the official decree. The community gathers, anxious parents, stoic young men, and curious children. Your name, or perhaps the name of your brother or friend, is on a list, drawn from the parish records. It is not an invitation, it is a summons, a legal obligation. This was not solely a volunteer army, though many did volunteer out of patriotism, a thirst for adventure, or to escape poverty. For the vast majority, it was a blood tax paid to the nation, a forced enlistment that tore you from your familiar world. You would have been part of a public drawing of lots, a chilling ritual in the village square or town hall. Imagine your hand reaching into a rough canvas bag, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Each slip of paper bears a number. A low number signifies immediate service. A high number brings a momentary, dizzying wave of relief. This lottery system was meant to be fair, yet life has always found its loopholes. If your family had means, you might purchase a substitute. A desperate, poorer man, often a seasoned soldier or someone down on their luck, would step forward for a fee to take your place. This meant the burden of military service often fell disproportionately on the less fortunate, those who could not afford to buy their way out. But let us assume you drew a low number. The color drains from your mother's face. Your father's hand clenches. You are now a soldier whether you like it or not. There is no time for long goodbyes. The Emperor's call is urgent, the need for fresh recruits constant. You report to the local authorities, your civilian clothes feeling suddenly alien and flimsy. You are examined by a doctor, perhaps a local surgeon. They check your teeth, your limbs, your general constitution. Are you tall enough? Strong enough? Can you see and hear well enough to follow commands and wield a musket? They are not looking for perfect specimens, merely for men capable of enduring the rigors of campaign. Once declared fit, you are given your marching orders. Perhaps you join a small group of other conscripts from nearby villages, a reluctant band of brothers united by fate. You might be issued a rough wool uniform, a shako hat, and a pair of sturdy shoes. This initial issue was rudimentary, designed to get you to your regimental depot, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away. The uniform itself was often a source of bewildering change. For some, a symbol of newfound dignity; for others, a constant reminder of the life you had left behind, a life of warmth, family, and freedom. The journey to your regiment would have been your first true taste of military life. You would walk, often for days, sometimes weeks, along dusty roads or muddy tracks. You would meet other men along the way, some like you, fresh from the fields; others, hardened veterans returning from furlough, their eyes carrying the distant look of men who have seen too much. This was where your new family began to form, a bond forged not by blood, but by shared fate, shared discomfort, and the immense, unknown journey stretching before you. Upon arrival at the regimental depot, the real transformation began. You would be assigned to a company, perhaps even a specific squad, a small unit of 4 men who would become your immediate companions. Here you would be officially enrolled, your name added to the company roster. You would receive a more complete uniform, the distinctive blue coat with its colored facings, the white breeches or trousers, the gaiters. You would be issued a heavy musket, likely a Charleville Model 1777, a powerful but notoriously inaccurate weapon. You would also get a bayonet, a cartridge box holding 30 to 40 paper cartridges, a haversack for your rations, and a knapsack for your few personal belongings, perhaps a spare shirt, a razor, a pipe, a letter from home. These were your new tools, your new possessions, and your new identity. The weight of the musket, unfamiliar and awkward in your hands, would be a constant, reassuring, yet also terrifying presence. The smell of powder, leather, and damp wool would become as familiar as the smell of your own skin. Your instructors would be non-commissioned officers, grizzled sergeants and corporals who had survived battles and knew the brutal realities of army life. Their patience would be short, their voices loud, and their methods direct. You would learn to march, not as an individual strolling down a country lane, but as part of a collective, a cog in a vast, intricate machine. Left, right. Thousands of steps, endless drills across the parade ground. You would learn to hold your head high, to keep your shoulders back, to move in unison with your comrades, your bodies learning a new, synchronized rhythm. This was the fundamental cadence of military life, the drumbeat that would accompany you across continents and into battle. You would also learn how to use your musket. The loading procedure was complex and had to be executed quickly and flawlessly under immense pressure. Bite the cartridge to expose the powder, pour a small amount into the pan to prime, then the rest down the barrel, drop in the musket ball, ram it all down with the ramrod, return the ramrod, full cock the hammer, aim, fire. 9 distinct steps, often practiced hundreds of times a day until they became second nature, a muscle memory that could be triggered almost unconsciously. Your accuracy would be secondary to your speed. In a line battle, the sheer volume of fire, not individual precision, was key. You would also practice bayonet drills, lunging and parrying, the cold steel becoming an extension of your arm, a terrifying last resort in close quarters combat. These were vital lessons in the art of war. The barrack life was stark, a profound contrast to the comforts of home, however humble. You would sleep shoulder to shoulder with dozens of other men, often on straw-filled sacks, the air thick with the smell of sweat, stale smoke, and unwashed bodies. Personal space was a luxury unknown. Privacy was non-existent. You ate what you were given, often a monotonous diet of hardtack, a biscuit so hard it could break teeth, salted meat or dried vegetables, and a meager ration of wine or brandy to dull the edges of fatigue and fear. Discipline was absolute, enforced by the constant threat of punishment. Minor infractions could lead to extra duties, public humiliation, or even a beating with the flat of a saber. Serious offenses like desertion could mean a brutal court-martial and a firing squad, a stark reminder of the ultimate price of disobedience. Yet, amidst this harshness, something else would begin to grow. A sense of belonging, a profound connection to the men around you. The strangers from diverse backgrounds, a farmer from Brittany, a tailor from Paris, a vineyard worker from Burgundy, were no longer just names. They were your companions in adversity. You shared your fears, your hopes, your meager rations. You learn to rely on each other for warmth on a cold night, for a joke to lighten the mood, for a moment of quiet understanding when the world felt overwhelming. This nascent camaraderie, forged in the crucible of endless drills and shared hardship, was the bedrock of the Grande Army. The uniform made you a soldier, but these shared experiences made you a comrade. You were no longer just a farmer, a baker, or a tailor. You were a soldier of France. You wore the uniform. You carried the musket. You had learned the basic drills. The transition from civilian to military life was complete. From the plow to the pike, your journey had begun. Now you awaited the orders that would send you from the quiet training grounds to the thunderous, blood-soaked fields of Europe, to face the enemy, and to fulfill the Emperor's grand design. Your new life, your life as a soldier, had truly begun. The quiet training grounds fade behind you. The rustle of dry leaves underfoot, the rhythmic crunch of boots on the road, these are the new sounds of your existence. You are no longer merely a recruit, but a moving piece within the vast, intricate mechanism that is the Grande Army. Napoleon's army was not just a collection of men. It was an organism designed for speed, flexibility, and devastating impact. You march as part of a corps, a self-sufficient miniature army of 20,000 to 40,000 men, complete with its own infantry, cavalry, artillery, and support services. This revolutionary system allows the army to spread out, foraging for supplies without depleting any single area, yet remain close enough to concentrate swiftly for battle. You feel the purpose in every step. Imagine the sheer scale of it. You are one of thousands, marching on roads that stretch across a continent. The dust from countless boots and hooves billows around you, coating your uniform, your hair, settling into the very pores of your skin. In summer, the heat can be stifling, the sun relentless, beating down on your shako, warming the musket slung over your shoulder. In colder seasons, the mud can be a cruel adversary, sucking at your boots with every step, turning the roads into treacherous quagmires. The weight of your pack, your musket, your cartridge box, your full haversack, and your canteen presses into your shoulders. Each item, though seemingly small, adds to the cumulative burden that you carry day after day, week after week. The pace is relentless. Napoleon famously said that war is 3/4 logistics and 1/4 morale. His army often moved faster than any before it, covering incredible distances in short periods. You learn to march at the pas de charge, a brisk, energy-sapping pace, for hours on end. Your legs ache, your feet blister, but you keep moving. The man in front of you sets the rhythm, and you follow, a human chain stretching far into the horizon. Conversation is sparse during these periods, reserved for brief rests or the quiet hours in camp. Mostly, you listen to the rhythmic breathing of your comrades, the creak of leather, the jingle of equipment, and the steady drumbeat that seems to resonate within your very bones. Supply, or the lack thereof, defines much of your daily struggle. The Grande Army rarely relied on vast, cumbersome supply trains that would slow its lightning advances. Instead, it lived off the land. This means that after a long day of marching, you might be tasked with foraging for food. You might join a group sent to scour nearby villages for grain, livestock, or wine. Sometimes this is a relatively easy task, met with begrudging cooperation from local inhabitants. Other times, it involves persuasion or even force, leading to resentment and often outright hostility. You learn to distinguish a good foraging opportunity from a futile one, to spot the signs of a well-stocked farm or a recently departed civilian. Your rations, when issued, are basic. Hard biscuit, dried meat or salted pork, and maybe some wine or brandy. When these are scarce, you eat what you can find: roots, berries, scavenged scraps. Hunger becomes a familiar companion, a dull ache that never quite goes away. Thirst can be even worse. You learn to savor every drop of water, to choose your sources carefully, for contaminated water can bring dysentery, a foe often more deadly than any enemy soldier. The constant threat of disease looms over every camp, every march, thinning the ranks as surely as any cannonball. When the marching finally ceases for the day, Camp is set with a speed born of practice and necessity. Tents spring up, a temporary city materializes. You might share a small canvas tent with 3 or 4 others, huddling together for warmth and companionship. Fires are lit, their smoke curling into the evening sky, carrying the scent of wood smoke and cooking food, sometimes meager, sometimes a rare feast. This is where camaraderie truly blossoms. Around the fire, stories are told, letters from home are shared, and the day's hardships are recounted with a mixture of humor and grim resignation. You mend your uniform, clean your musket, and prepare for the next day, which will inevitably bring more marching, more foraging, more uncertainty. Discipline is the unbreakable backbone of this army. Officers and non-commissioned officers are ever present, ensuring that orders are followed, that equipment is maintained, and that the ranks remain orderly. Punishment for infractions can be swift and severe, ranging from extra duties to flogging, or even execution for desertion or looting. You see firsthand how this strictness, though harsh, maintains cohesion in an environment of constant stress and danger. Yet there is also a profound sense of meritocracy. Unlike many armies of the era, Napoleon's Grande Army offered a path for advancement based on skill and bravery, not birthright. A common soldier, if courageous and competent, could rise through the ranks, becoming a sergeant, a lieutenant, even a general. This possibility, however distant, fuels ambition and loyalty, giving every man a personal stake in the army's success. The spirit of the Grande Army is almost palpable. You hear the stories of previous victories, whispered around campfires, sung in marching songs. You feel the collective pride, the fierce loyalty to the emperor, a man who, you are told, cares deeply for his soldiers. He is a distant figure, yet his presence is everywhere, in the orders that guide your steps, in the eagles on the regimental standards, in the very name of the army you serve. This shared belief in Napoleon's genius, in the invincibility of the Grande Army, forges a powerful morale. It is an unshakable confidence, an elan, a dash that propels you forward even when your body screams for rest. You are part of a legendary force, a machine designed for conquest, and that knowledge fills you with a sense of purpose, a grim determination. Every morning before the sun has fully risen, the camp stirs to life. The reveille sounds, a shrill call piercing the cold air. You roll out of your meager bedroll, shivering, and begin the ritual of preparing for another day. Inspect your musket, check your ammunition, tighten your pack. You fall into formation with your company, your battalion, your regiment, your corps. The long column stretches out, a river of blue and white, red and gold, winding its way through the European landscape. You are a cog in this mighty machine, a living part of the Grande Army. You have been forged in the fire of endless marches, in the crucible of hunger and thirst, in the bonds of shared endurance. You are ready. You are a soldier of Napoleon. Your journey continues, taking you deeper into the heart of the Emperor's grand design, toward the thunderous clash that awaits. This formidable, mobile and relentless force, the Grande Army, now truly begins its work, moving inexorably towards its destiny and yours. The long march ends not with a grand ceremony, but often with the simple command to halt. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, and the rhythm of the road gives way to the bustle of the bivouac. You find your assigned spot, a patch of earth that will be your home for the night or perhaps for many nights. There are no tents for most of you, no comfortable barracks. This is the open air, the raw earth, the elements your constant companions. Your first task is to make camp. Your musket is carefully laid aside, your pack unslung. You might share a small canvas shelter, a marabou, with a few comrades, but more often than not, you are constructing a makeshift shelter from whatever is at hand. Branches, straw, even just your greatcoat spread over a few sticks. The scent of damp earth, wood smoke and unwashed bodies begins to permeate the air, a distinctive aroma that will forever cling to your memories of the campaign. As darkness deepens, the true work of survival begins. Fire. It is more than just warmth, it is the heart of the bivouac. You join your company in gathering wood, scavenging the nearby fields and forests. Every dry twig, every fallen branch, is a precious commodity. Soon, small fires flicker across the landscape, dozens, hundreds, thousands of them, twinkling like fallen stars against the black velvet of the night. Around these fires, the true brotherhood of the bivouac comes to life. You sit with your fellow soldiers, your faces illuminated by the dancing flames. The sounds are a cacophony of camp life. The clinking of mess tins, the low murmur of conversations in French, German, Italian, Dutch, the occasional burst of laughter, the whinny of a horse from the cavalry lines. You might be from Picardy, the man beside you from Prussia, another from Piedmont. Yet here, under the shared sky, you are all soldiers of the Grande Army. You are brothers. The primary concern beyond shelter is food. The commissary wagon, when it arrives, brings hardtack, a dense, nearly indestructible biscuit, and often dried peas or lentils. Fresh meat is a luxury usually obtained by foraging. This is where your ingenuity comes into play. You and your comrades become expert hunters and gatherers. A chicken from a nearby farm, a pig rooting in the woods, even a stray dog or cat in desperate times. Nothing is wasted. You pull out your mess tin, perhaps a battered piece of tin or copper. Water, if you are lucky enough to have found a clean source, is brought to a boil over the fire. Hardtack is crumbled into a stew, or soaked to make it palatable. Sometimes you have a piece of salt pork fried until it crackles. The meals are simple, often meager, but they are shared. A man with a full tin will offer a portion to a man with none. It is an unwritten rule, a cornerstone of your shared existence. You learn to appreciate the simplest of fare, to savor every mouthful, knowing that tomorrow it might be even less. Around these fires, stories are exchanged. Tales of home, of past battles, of women left behind. You hear the same jokes told countless times, yet still laugh. Songs are sung, sometimes melancholic ballads yearning for hearth and home, sometimes rousing martial tunes that speak of glory and victory. The camaraderie is palpable, a thick invisible bond forged in shared hunger, shared cold, shared fear, and shared moments of fleeting joy. Your uniform, once smart and relatively new, now bears the marks of the campaign. Dust, mud, grime, and sweat are its constant companions. You spend precious moments cleaning your musket, polishing its barrel, checking its mechanism. Your uniform might be patched and mended with whatever scraps of cloth you can find. Personal hygiene is a constant struggle. Lice are an inescapable reality. You can feel them crawling, an itchy, constant annoyance. Daily bathing is impossible. You might wash your face and hands in a stream, but a full bath is a distant memory. Discipline, though less rigid than on the parade ground, remains. Sentries are posted, their shadowy figures patrolling the perimeter, ever watchful. Officers move among the fires, checking on their men, offering words of encouragement, or a stern reminder to keep the peace. Yet there are moments of respite. You might play a game of cards, carved roughly from wood or found paper. Some men carve small figures from wood, others write letters home, often dictating them to a literate comrade. These letters, rarely sent, are anchors to the world you left behind, tangible proof of your continued existence. The nights are long. You lie wrapped in your greatcoat, perhaps sharing body warmth with a comrade or two, trying to snatch a few hours of sleep. The ground is hard, uneven. The sounds of the bivouac slowly fade, replaced by the chirping of crickets, the rustling of leaves, the distant howl of a wolf. Your mind wanders. You think of home, of family, of the quiet comfort of a feather bed. But then a sudden chill, a rustle in the dark, pulls you back to the present. You are a soldier. You are here. Disease is a silent, constant enemy. Dysentery, typhus, pneumonia. The crowded conditions, the lack of sanitation, the constant exposure to the elements make you vulnerable. You see men cough, shiver, succumb to ailments that would be minor in civilian life. The surgeons, overwhelmed and often without proper supplies, do what they can. You learn to live with the omnipresent threat, to harden yourself against the sight of suffering, because to dwell on it is to weaken. Yet, amidst the hardship there are moments of beauty. A clear night sky, ablaze with stars, far brighter than anything you've ever seen in a city. The quiet camaraderie of sharing a pipe of tobacco with a friend, exchanging a few whispered words before sleep claims you. The feeling of shared purpose, of being part of something larger than yourself. You are a small cog, yes, but an essential one, in the most formidable army Europe has ever seen. The hierarchy of the army is present even here. The sergeants and corporals, your immediate superiors, move among you, ensuring order, distributing rations, assigning duties. They are the backbone of the company, bridging the gap between officers and enlisted men. They have often risen through the ranks themselves, understanding your daily struggles, but also embodying the iron discipline that holds the army together. You respect their experience, their toughness, their ability to keep a semblance of order in the chaos. In the morning, before the bugle call of reveille, a different sound might wake you. The crackling of wood as the fires are rekindled, the groans of men stretching stiff limbs, the rustle of straw. You rise, stiff and often sore, to another day of marching, foraging and waiting. The cycle continues. This interim life, this existence between the thunder of battle and the strategic maneuvers, is the true crucible of the Napoleonic soldier. It is here, in these bivouacs, that the individual raw recruits are truly forged into a cohesive, enduring fighting force. You have learned to endure hunger without complaint, to sleep soundly on the hard ground, to march for days on end with little rest. You have learned to trust the men beside you with your life and they with theirs. This is not just an army, it is a moving city, a living organism fueled by resilience and comradeship. The banners and eagles may inspire from afar, but it is the shared mess tin, the whispered joke by the fire, the helping hand on a muddy track, that truly binds you. This brotherhood, born of shared hardship, becomes a shield against the crushing weight of the campaign. You are no longer just a farmer, a shoemaker, a student. You are a soldier, a member of this unique family. Your identity is interwoven with theirs. You may curse the cold, the hunger, the endless marching, but you also understand the unspoken loyalty that runs deep within your company. It is a powerful force, one that will sustain you through the coming trials, through the roar of cannons and the clash of bayonets. The world outside the bivouac seems distant, a fading memory. Your universe shrinks to the immediate surroundings, the warmth of the fire, the faces of your comrades, the feel of your musket, the taste of stale bread. You live in the present, acutely aware of every sensation, every sound, every smell. This heightened awareness is born of necessity, of survival. It is a stark, primal existence, stripped of most comforts, yet rich in human connection. And so, as the sun rises on another day, painting the eastern sky with hues of pink and gold, you pack your meager belongings, stamp out the embers of your fire, and fall back into formation. The bivouac melts away, leaving only flattened earth and scattered ash. The Grande Armée, a living tide of men, horses, and wagons, resumes its relentless advance. You are ready for what comes next, not just because of your training, but because of the bonds forged in the quiet, arduous nights of the bivouac. These bonds are your strength, your comfort, your very reason for enduring. They are the unseen sinews of the Emperor's mighty war machine. This is the life between battles. This is the heart of the campaign. This is your reality. The long march ends. The rhythm of your boots on the road, a steady drumbeat for weeks, now falters. The whispers of the wind through the fields give way to a different kind of murmur. A distant rumble, low and guttural, vibrates through the very ground beneath your feet. You do not need to be told what it is. The air stiffens with a new, colder tension. This is it. The campaign, the bivouacs, the endless roads, all have led to this moment. You halt. The order echoes down the line, passed from officer to corporal, from corporal to man. The Grande Armée, a serpent coiling and uncoiling for months, now tightens, compressing its immense power into a formidable, deadly mass. Sergeants bark commands, their voices hoarse but clear. Your battalion, your company, your section falls into place with the practiced ease of countless drills. You know your spot, the man to your left, the man to your right. You are a cog in a vast, intricate machine, each part essential, each part vulnerable. The battlefield unfolds before you, a vast canvas awaiting a terrible masterpiece. It might be an open plain, a gentle slope, or a muddy field crisscrossed with ditches. You stand shoulder to shoulder, a dense, living wall of men. The ranks stretch back 3 deep, sometimes 4, giving your unit depth and formidable presence. Your musket, a heavy, familiar companion, is clutched firmly. The polished wood of the stock, the cold steel of the barrel, these are extensions of your own body now. Your bayonet, still sheathed, is a silent promise of close quarters brutality, a final resort. The sounds now multiply, each one sharpening your senses, tightening your gut. The deep boom of a cannon miles away sends a tremor through the earth, a visceral shockwave that heralds the coming storm. Then another and another, a growing chorus of destruction. You hear the high-pitched whistle of the round shot as it arcs through the sky, a sound that makes your scalp prickle even before the impact. A sickening thud, a cloud of dust, sometimes a scream, marks where it lands. You try not to flinch. You try not to think. Around you, the symphony of steel begins to crescendo. The distant clamor of cavalry, the rumble of artillery wagons being repositioned, the sharp snap of command from a colonel on horseback. You hear the thousands of individual sounds that make up an army preparing for death. The scrape of boots, the jingle of equipment, the muttered prayers, the heavy, ragged breathing of men facing the abyss. The air begins to thicken, not yet with smoke, but with an almost palpable dread, a collective anticipation that hangs heavy and electric. You focus on the man in front of you, the back of his uniform, the set of his shoulders. You focus on the feel of your musket, on the steady rhythm of your own heart trying to beat its way out of your chest. This is the moment when all the drill, all the discipline, all the camaraderie of the bivouac is truly tested. Fear is a cold hand gripping your stomach, but it is a fear you have learned to control, to channel. It becomes a raw energy, a sharpened awareness. The order comes, fix bayonets. With a unified, metallic rasp, thousands of bayonets are drawn from their scabbards and clicked into place onto the muzzles of muskets. The glint of steel, reflecting the dull morning light, creates a forest of sharp points, a truly terrifying sight. This is a clear signal. There is no turning back. You are committed. You are a weapon. Then the first volley. Not from your line yet, but from the enemy, or perhaps from your own skirmishers sent ahead. A ragged roar, a collective explosion of sound, followed by the whistle of musket balls. You hear them rip through the air like angry bees, some thudding into the earth, others striking flesh with a wet, sickening sound. A man 2 files to your right stumbles, a dark stain blossoming on his chest. He collapses without a sound, a crumpled heap of cloth and flesh. You do not look away. You cannot. You remain fixed, eyes forward, mind clear. Your officer, a young man perhaps barely older than yourself, stands firm in front of the line, sword drawn, his voice a strange shout above the growing din. Present. Arms. You bring your musket up, but against your shoulder, aiming down the long, pitted barrel. You can see the enemy now, a blurred mass of colors and movement across the field. They are another wall of men, another line of death. Fire. The roar is deafening. A wall of flame and smoke erupts from your own line. The recoil slams into your shoulder, a familiar blow. The smell of burnt powder instantly fills your nostrils, acrid and metallic, stinging your eyes. The world becomes a swirling maelstrom of white smoke, muffling sounds, obscuring vision. You instinctively reach for your cartridge box, tear open a paper cartridge with your teeth, the taste of powder sharp on your tongue. You pour the black powder into the pan, close the frizzen. Then you ram the rest of the cartridge, ball and paper, down the barrel with the ramrod, a practiced, almost ritualistic series of motions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Prime, load, ram, present. You are a machine repeating the sequence, each movement honed by years of practice. You are a part of the firestorm, contributing your own small, deadly projectile to the thousands flying across the field. Visibility is fleeting. Through the drifting smoke, you glimpse flashes of enemy uniforms, the flutter of their flags. You aim generally into the mass, knowing that precision is a luxury no one can afford in this chaos. The sheer volume of fire is the strategy, the hope that enough lead will find its mark to break the enemy's resolve. The drums beat a furious, relentless rhythm, driving you forward, urging you to maintain your pace, to stand firm. The fife's high-pitched wail cuts through the din, a strange, haunting counterpoint to the explosions. These are the sounds of battle, the symphony of steel and courage and death. You reload, fire, your movements becoming automatic, detached from the thinking part of your brain. Your hands work independently, fueled by muscle memory and a primal urge to survive. Men around you fall. The gaps in the line are filled instantly, almost seamlessly, by those behind you, by men from the next rank stepping forward. The line must hold. The line is everything. You step over fallen comrades, their faces perhaps familiar, perhaps not, their struggles lost in the roar of the battle. There is no time for grief, no time for hesitation. Only the immediate task matters. Keep the line, keep firing, keep breathing. Sweat stings your eyes, mixing with the grit of powder and the smoke. Your throat is dry, parched from the exertion and the fear. The musket barrel grows hot, almost too hot to touch. Your ears ring from the explosions, a constant high-pitched whine beneath the deeper booms. But still you maintain your place. You are a single atom in a vast, terrifying chain reaction, held together by the unseen forces of discipline and comradeship. The officers, on horseback or on foot, walk up and down the line, their voices raw, their commands cutting through the pandemonium. Stand firm, lads. For the Emperor. Maintain your fire. Their unwavering presence, their willingness to share the same danger, offers a strange comfort. You look at their resolute faces and find a reflection of your own grim determination. Sometimes the order comes to advance. En avant. A collective roar, a surge forward. You pick up your pace, stumbling over the uneven ground, still loading and firing as you move. The bayonet, now fixed, becomes a tangible threat, a promise of a more intimate, more terrifying kind of fight. You are pushing into the heart of the storm, a wave breaking against an equally determined shore. The world narrows to the few feet around you, the men beside you, the enemy just ahead. The roar of your own voice, the shout of "Vive l'Empereur," gives strength to your lungs, fire to your spirit. This is the ultimate test, the crucible of steel and spirit, where the future of empires is decided, one man, one musket, one desperate stand at a time. The fury of the charge, the desperate stand, these are moments. But the true rhythm of a soldier's life, the relentless, grinding reality, unfolds on the road. The orders come, often just after a battle or in the pre-dawn chill before one. Form up. En route. Your bones ache, your muscles protest, but you gather your meager belongings, hoist your heavy pack and fall into line. Imagine the weight. Your musket, your bayonet, your ammunition pouch heavy with cartridges. Your haversack with its hardtack and perhaps a sliver of dried meat. Your canteen hopefully full. Your spare shirt, your worn greatcoat. All told, it can be a burden of 50, even 60 pounds. Now, imagine carrying that for mile after mile, day after day, week after week. You step onto the road, one boot after another. The crunch of gravel, the squelch of mud, the endless rhythmic thud of thousands of feet moving in unison. Ahead of you, a line of blue coats stretching into the hazy distance. Behind you, more of the same. The air fills with the dust kicked up by this immense human tide, coating your uniform, stinging your eyes, clogging your throat. In wet weather, the dust turns to a thick, clinging mud that sucks at your boots with every step, making each stride a labor. Your trousers become heavy, caked. The pace is relentless. 20 miles a day is common, often more. Sometimes, it is a forced march, pushing 30, even 40 miles in a single grueling stretch, driven by the urgency of a flanking maneuver or the need to intercept an enemy column. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. Your shoulders burn where the pack straps dig in. Your feet, encased in often ill-fitting, worn-out boots, begin to protest with a dull ache that sharpens into a searing pain. Blisters form, then burst, then fester, turning each step into an agony. You try to ignore them, to push through the pain, but it is a constant, nagging companion. You walk in a half-daze, your mind flickering between the immediate struggle and fleeting thoughts of home, of a warm meal, of simply stopping. The world narrows to the swaying back of the man in front of you, the rough texture of your musket in your hand, the endless stretch of road. Conversation dies out, replaced by the collective sounds of marching. The shuffle of feet, the occasional cough, the jingle of equipment, the distant, muffled commands from up the column. Discipline on the march is paramount. To fall behind, to become a straggler, is to risk capture by enemy patrols, or worse, to be left to the mercy of the elements and your own failing strength. Officers and NCOs ride alongside the column, their eyes scanning for anyone faltering, ready with a sharp word or a prod of a riding crop to encourage renewed effort. You learn to conserve energy, to find a rhythm, to let your body move almost independently of your exhausted will. The sun beats down, relentless, baking the dust. Or rain lashes down, soaking you to the bone, turning the road into a treacherous ribbon of mud. There is no shelter, no pause in the relentless advance. You march through villages, their inhabitants staring with a mixture of fear and awe at the endless stream of soldiers. You march through forests, the dappled light offering a brief, illusory respite from the open road. You march across open plains, exposed to the elements, feeling impossibly small beneath the vast sky. And all the while, another, more insidious enemy begins its gnawing work: hunger. Rations are a promise, often unfulfilled. Theoretically, you are entitled to a daily ration of bread or biscuit, a measure of meat, and perhaps some wine or brandy. The reality on campaign is often starkly different. Supply lines are long, vulnerable, and notoriously inefficient. Wagons break down. Roads become impassable. Enemy cavalry raids intercept convoys. Your haversack often holds little more than a piece of hardtack, a biscuit so dense and dry it can break teeth. You might chew on it for hours, trying to soften it with your saliva, imagining the taste of fresh bread. Meat, when it comes, might be salted, stringy, and scarce. You learn to make do, to stretch every morsel. You become an expert at scavenging. When the army passes through cultivated lands, you might sneak away to dig for potatoes, or to pluck unripe fruit from an orchard. If a chicken or a pig wanders too close, it might quickly find itself destined for a soldier's cooking pot, regardless of ownership. These acts of foraging, often officially forbidden but widely tolerated out of necessity, can mean the difference between sustenance and starvation. The sight of a village, a farm, or even a field of grain can ignite a desperate hope for food, a fleeting relief from the constant ache in your stomach. You learn to cook over an open fire, often sharing a mess pot with a few comrades. Water, when available, is boiled to make a thin soup from whatever scraps you have managed to gather. The smell of cooking, even meager rations, is a powerful draw in the encampment. But often there is no fire, no time, no fuel. You eat cold, you eat little, or you eat nothing at all. The emptiness in your belly becomes a dull, constant throb, draining your strength, making you irritable, blurring your vision. Your uniform hangs loose on your frame. Your cheeks grow hollow. Then, there are the campaigns where the very air turns against you, when the seasons become as formidable an enemy as any opposing army. Imagine the grip of winter. Not just a cold day, but weeks, months of relentless, biting cold that seeps into your very bones. You are dressed in a uniform designed for temperate climates, ill-equipped for the icy winds and deep snows of northern Europe. Your greatcoat, once a comfort, now feels pitifully thin. The ground is iron-hard, frozen solid. Each step jars your entire body. The snow piles high, making every stride an exhausting effort, a battle against the elements simply to move forward. Your hands, exposed to the biting air, quickly become numb, then painful. You try to stuff them into your pockets or tuck them under your armpits, but the cold finds its way in. Your breath plumes in thick clouds before your face, and the tips of your ears, your nose, your fingers and toes begin to lose all sensation. Frostbite is a silent, insidious killer. You might not even realize it is happening until the damage is done. Your skin turns waxy, then black. Fingers and toes become useless, eventually falling away, leaving you permanently scarred and debilitated. You watch your comrades suffer, their faces gaunt, blue with cold, their eyes reflecting a despair born of unending misery. The constant shivering, the desperate search for warmth, consumes all your energy, all your thoughts. At night, encampment offers little respite. Your tent, if you are lucky enough to have one, is canvas, offering meager protection against the freezing winds. You huddle with your comrades, seeking shared body warmth, sleeping in your clothes, your greatcoat pulled tight around you. The ground beneath you is frozen, radiating an unforgiving cold. Sleep is fitful, broken by the shivers, by the ceaseless ache of cold limbs, by the desperate coughing of men falling ill around you. Fires are a luxury. Fuel is scarce, often requiring a long, dangerous trek to find even small branches. When a fire is lit, you press close to its flickering warmth, trying to thaw your stiff fingers and toes, to feel the heat penetrate the layers of your frozen clothing. But the fire's comfort is fleeting. Step away, and the cold immediately reasserts its brutal dominance. Hunger in winter is an even more profound torment. Your body cries out for calories to fuel its fight against the cold, but food is rarer than ever. Every scrap of bread, every morsel of meat, every piece of forage becomes precious beyond measure. You see men grow weaker, their bodies succumbing to dysentery, to typhus, to pneumonia, illnesses made deadly by the cold and starvation. The winter bites not just at your flesh but at your spirit, eroding hope, replacing it with a grim, numb endurance. This is the deeper burden of the soldier. Not just the courage to face an enemy's cannon, but the sheer, unyielding fortitude to endure the endless march, the gnawing hunger, and the merciless grip of winter. It is the silent, unsung battle fought every single day, against exhaustion, against deprivation, against the very elements, a battle that often claimed more lives than any musket ball or bayonet thrust. You are a survivor, a testament to an almost superhuman resilience, pushing forward one painful step at a time, simply to endure, simply to carry on. You stand amidst the ragged lines, your uniform torn, your belly empty, your boots worn through. Yet even in this state of raw endurance, a different current flows through the army, a binding force far stronger than any parade ground drill. You are not just a collection of individuals fighting for survival, you are a part of something vast, something driven by an almost mystical devotion. It is the shadow of the imperial eagle, cast long and wide across the continent, that defines your very purpose. This standard, carried into every battle, represents not merely a nation but a man, an idea, a destiny that you, a common soldier, feel yourself swept up in. You have heard the stories of the revolution, of the old guard who fought for liberty, equality, fraternity. Some among you, the older veterans, still carry a flicker of that revolutionary zeal. But for many, especially the younger conscripts, the driving force is something else entirely: l'Empereur. Napoleon. You have seen him, perhaps, a figure on horseback, surveying the battlefield or riding through your bivouac. You have heard the roar of Vive l'Empereur ripple through the ranks, a sound that sends shivers down your spine, a potent mix of reverence and raw energy. His presence alone seems to electrify the air, instilling a renewed sense of purpose, a belief that with him, anything is possible. You feel a personal connection to him even from afar. You know he reviews petitions from common soldiers, that he rewards bravery and talent, that a man of humble origins can rise through the ranks to become a marshal. This is the promise he offers, not just glory for France but glory for you if you prove worthy. You have seen a corporal promoted to sergeant on the spot for an act of courage, a common grenadier decorated with the Legion of Honor, the red ribbon a beacon of distinction. This dream of advancement, of recognition, burns brightly even in the darkest moments. You fight not just for pay, which is meager and often late, but for honor, for the chance to be seen, to be counted among the heroes of the empire. The camaraderie among you is fierce, forged in shared hardship in the face of death. The man beside you, your messmate, your comrade in arms, is your family now. You share your meager rations, you nurse each other's wounds, you laugh and curse together around the campfire. This esprit de corps, this deep sense of belonging to the Grande Armée, is a powerful motivator. You would not abandon your brothers just as they would not abandon you. You are all cogs in a magnificent, terrible machine, moving forward under the direction of a single brilliant mind. But let us speak plainly of another, less noble motivation that often intertwines with loyalty and glory, the spoils of war. You are a soldier of an army that must, by necessity, live off the land. When supplies run out, as they so often do, you are expected to forage, to requisition, to find what you need to survive. This often blurs quickly and inevitably into plunder. You see it happen and you participate in it. You enter a town, perhaps in Germany or Spain or Russia, a town that is enemy territory. The official orders are clear: no pillaging, no theft, respect for civilian property. But the reality is far more fluid. You are hungry, your boots are falling apart, your uniform is threadbare. You spot a chicken in a yard, a loaf of bread in a window, a pair of sturdy boots in a shop. The temptation is overwhelming. And often it is quietly condoned. A blind eye is turned by your officers, especially if the plundering is done quickly and does not disrupt the main military objectives. You remember the thrill of finding something truly valuable: a silver watch, a few coins, a fine piece of cloth. These items represent a fleeting comfort, a chance to trade for better food or extra brandy, or perhaps even to send a small sum home to your family. You hear stories of soldiers returning from campaigns with pockets full of gold, of those who managed to accumulate enough to buy land or set up a business. These tales, whispered around the campfires, fuel a certain greed, a hope for personal enrichment amidst the collective struggle. You have seen a house searched for provisions, only to emerge with a valuable painting or an ornate clock. You have seen a cellar emptied of wine, leaving the local inhabitants destitute. There is a harsh logic to it: they are the enemy and you are the conqueror. The lines between what is permissible and what is criminal often become meaningless in the fog of war and the gnawing grip of deprivation. You learn to justify it, to harden your heart against the pleas of the locals. It is survival, yes, but it is also opportunity. The emperor himself, while condemning excessive plunder, understood its role in maintaining morale and providing an unspoken incentive for his men. He knew that a soldier who felt some personal gain from the arduous campaigns was a soldier more willing to fight, to endure. So, while discipline was strict, with summary executions for egregious crimes like murder or rape, the soft plunder of food, clothing, and small valuables was often tolerated, an unwritten perk of the profession. You march under the eagle, a symbol of glory and empire, but you also march with the promise of what you might acquire, what you might take. It is a complex tapestry of motivations that drives you forward: profound loyalty to a charismatic leader, a fervent pride in your Grande Armée, the desperate need to survive, and the very human desire for personal gain. Each step you take, each battle you fight, each hardship you endure, is woven into this intricate fabric of service. You are a soldier of Napoleon, a testament to an era where idealism and brutality, honor and plunder, marched hand in hand, all under the shadow of l'Empereur. You have marched. You have fought. You have endured. But the story of being a soldier in Napoleon's army does not end with the last shot fired on the battlefield, or with the return march home. The empire's echo reverberates long after the smoke clears, shaping your very being, carving new lines onto your body and mind. These are the scars and the stories that remain, the indelible marks of an extraordinary, brutal existence. Imagine the aftermath of a great battle. The roar of cannons has faded to a low groan of the wounded. The ground, churned and stained, is a tableau of shattered lives. You might be among the fortunate, untouched by shot or saber. Or perhaps you lie there, a burning pain radiating through a limb, the cold fear of what comes next clutching at your throat. The immediate post-battle scene is a chaos of triage, a desperate search for those who can still be saved. The medical tent, often nothing more than a rough shelter, is a butcher's shop. The surgeons of the Grande Army, men like Dominique Jean Larrey, Napoleon's personal surgeon, were pioneers of battlefield medicine, developing techniques like the flying ambulance to quickly retrieve the wounded. Yet their methods by modern standards were shockingly primitive. There is no anesthesia beyond a swig of brandy if you are lucky. The primary treatment for shattered limbs is amputation, swift and brutal. You are held down, perhaps by your comrades, as the saw bites through bone and sinew. The pain is unimaginable, a white-hot agony that threatens to tear you apart. The memory of that sensation, the smell of blood and fear, will never leave you. If you survive the amputation, infection is your next great enemy. Without antiseptics, gangrene is a constant threat. Fevers rage through the crowded, unsanitary field hospitals. Many more die from disease and infection than from direct combat wounds. For those who do recover, their bodies are forever altered. A missing arm or leg means an entire way of life is gone. How do you farm? How do you work a trade? How do you even walk without the limb that defines so much of your physical being? The physical scars are profound, a map of your service etched into your flesh. But the scars are not only physical. The mental wounds, though unseen, often cut deeper and linger longer. You have witnessed horrors that defy description. The disembowelment of comrades, the screams of the dying, the casual cruelty of war. You have killed, perhaps many times, perhaps in desperate self-defense, perhaps in the heat of a bayonet charge. These acts, these sights, leave an imprint on your soul. In your era, there is no understanding of what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder. Instead, soldiers returning from campaigns often suffered from nostalgia, a term that encompassed a range of symptoms from deep melancholy and apathy to sudden fits of rage and terrifying nightmares. You might find yourself unable to sleep, haunted by the faces of the dead. Loud noises, sudden movements, even the smell of gunpowder from a distant forge, can send you back to the battlefield, heart-pounding, breath-catching. The constant exposure to violence desensitizes you, yet simultaneously makes you hypervigilant. The civilian world, with its mundane concerns, can feel alien, trivial. You may struggle to connect with family and friends who have not seen what you have seen, who cannot understand the world you now inhabit. The camaraderie of the army, that intense bond forged in shared danger and hardship, is often the only thing that truly makes sense. Outside of that bond, you can feel profoundly alone. Returning home is a complex experience. If you are part of a victorious army, marching through Paris after Austerlitz or Jena, you might be greeted as a hero. Cheers, flowers, the adoration of the crowd. For a brief moment, your sacrifices are recognized, your service celebrated. But these moments are fleeting. The reality of peacetime life soon reasserts itself. Many soldiers, particularly those from rural backgrounds, simply return to their farms, their hands now more accustomed to a musket than a plow. Others, having seen the world, found it impossible to settle back into their former lives. They might drift from town to town, seeking work, or perhaps joining the ranks of those who struggled to make ends meet, their wartime skills not easily transferable to civilian employment. The Napoleonic era did not have a robust system of pensions for its common soldiers, particularly after Napoleon's final defeat. While officers might receive some support, the rank and file were often left to fend for themselves. A veteran with a missing limb might rely on begging, charity, or the kindness of family. The glory of the Grande Armée for many translated into a life of quiet hardship, a struggle for survival far from the grand pronouncements of empire. You carry the stories within you. Some you tell, perhaps exaggerated for effect in a tavern, recounting a heroic charge or a daring escape. Others you keep locked away, too painful, too personal to share. The sight of an old uniform, a regimental flag, a portrait of the emperor, can stir a rush of memories. Pride, sorrow, regret, a fierce nostalgia for a time of intense purpose, even amidst the suffering. For your community, you are a living testament to the age of Napoleon. Children might look at you with awe, asking about your battles. Older folk might view you with a mix of respect and pity. You represent the immense human cost of empire, the personal sacrifice demanded by grand ambitions. Your very presence, perhaps with a limp or a missing eye, is a silent lesson in the brutal realities behind the glorious pronouncements. The collective memory of the Grande Armée, however, often sanitized these personal hardships. After Napoleon's final defeat and the restoration of the monarchy, there was an attempt to erase his legacy. But the veterans, the grognards, or grumblers, never truly disappeared. They kept the flame of memory alive. Later, during the Second Empire under Napoleon III, there was a resurgence of interest in the imperial past. Monuments were erected, histories written, and the image of the Napoleonic soldier became romanticized, a symbol of French military prowess and national pride. You, the individual soldier, might find this collective memory a strange thing. It celebrates the victories, the grand strategies, the emperor's genius. It often overlooks the mud, the hunger, the freezing nights, the terror of cannon fire, the agony of wounds, and the quiet despair of a life irrevocably altered. Yet, you are part of that legend, an anonymous brick in the mighty edifice of the Napoleonic myth. Your body might be weakened, your mind scarred, but your spirit, for many, remained unyielding. The discipline, the resilience, the sheer will to survive forged in those campaigns, became a part of who you were. You learned to endure. You learned to adapt. You learned the profound value of comradeship. These lessons, hard-won and deeply ingrained, stayed with you, shaping your character long after the last battle cry faded. Even in old age, perhaps sitting by a meager fire, your thoughts might drift back to those days. You might remember the piercing cold of Russia, the searing heat of Spain, the dusty plains of Egypt, the grand parades in glittering Paris. You might recall the faces of your friends, some lost to battle, some to disease, some to the relentless march of time. Each memory is a thread in the rich, tragic, and ultimately human tapestry of your life. The echoes of empire are not just in the grand histories or the monumental art. They are in the phantom pains of an amputated limb, in the sudden jolt of memory at a distant drumbeat, in the quiet pride of having served something larger than yourself, however brutal that service may have been. They are in the stories passed down, however incomplete, however embellished. They are in the way you carried yourself, a subtle dignity perhaps, or a lingering hardness in your gaze. You were a participant in one of history's most dramatic epics. You helped forge and shatter empires. You witnessed the extremes of human ambition and human suffering. And when you finally lay down your burden, the world you left behind was irrevocably shaped by the path you walked, the battles you fought, and the indelible scars you bore. Your story, the story of a soldier in Napoleon's army, is a powerful testament to the enduring impact of war on the individual, a legacy whispered not just through history books, but through the very earth where you once stood, and the silent, profound echoes within your own memory.